Well, I was going to share this stream a little more, but I'm gonna have to leave that too. Hopefully, maybe some viewers if somebody shows up, because the internets seem rather slow. I apologize if the song got out of sync or something weird happened to it, because the stream went red for a while right in the middle of the beginning song there. But anyways, give it a couple seconds for people to join us and we'll get right to it. Okay, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening, get up, dingo, whatever it is, wherever you are, and welcome back to the Easty Boys, the Easy Reefers Coastal Restoration Fish Room of Science, where we have rearranged the pump situation with a good old reliable Fluval CP2. There's the empty box and backup, very kindly donated from one of my dear friends and viewers from New Orleans. And she also brought this stuff. This is store-bought boxed saltwater. I have 4 gallons, maybe 5 gallons of this brand here, and just the one of this here. Now my plan, what I thought I was going to do, was to come down here and this little 10 gallon here, you know, this wouldn't have been enough salt water to use on my large system here. But if I were to just convert this 10 gallon down here, I thought we could check out, what's the quality, is there any dangers, is it any good, is it worth the money, is it actually a convenience, or is it a risk, is it shite, is it worth getting? That is the question. And I was thinking, okay, this stuff has been in storage for a while, but it's usually sitting on the shelf at Petco for a while. And let's just say there was something when I read the boxes I was a little bit shocked and dismayed at. And it might have thrown a wrench into my whole plan and made this a lot shorter of a live stream than it would have otherwise been. And certainly decreases the likelihood that it's going to be any sort of, how would you say, series-based experiment. Because Houston, we have a problem here. Right off the bat. We have a problem I noticed immediately. So, I'm not sure what we're going to do for you, Topsy, but we're going to do it soon, okay, honey? Here's the deal. This one, Vegetarian Pacific Ocean water, purified, low phosphate, low nitrate. Ocean water that's optimally pH balanced. First of all, one would hope that it would be zero phosphate nitrate, but okay. Or close to zero, just low is all they're saying. I don't see any measurements on that. Create a truly realistic habitat for your saltwater living residents with the addition of a Vegetarian Pacific Ocean water. Filtered, sanitized, and pH balanced, just for fish tanks. It requires zero mixing, measuring, or chemical adjusting. Just pour directly into your aquarium and watch as it helps you maintain an ideal marine environment. Period. Low phosphate and low nitrate, period. They just added that sentence fragment at the end there. So, this has 5 gallons of water in it. And has a little thing about algae. It has helpful hints. Caution, not for human consumption. Follow instructions closely. Facts. It's real ocean water. I'm looking for evidence of the bad news that I found on these boxes. No. Best if used by 2/20/2017. Okay. Doesn't say do not use after. Okay. Now this only has the writing on the front. If I'm not mistaken, this is the one that I saw at local Petco. Laney, no ma'am. Get your ass down. No interruptions here. Welcome to the Easy Reapers Fish Room, where a kitten always interrupts the video. So, this doesn't say anything about sterilization. It says naturally filtered. 100% natural live ocean seawater. Nutrient enriched for your aquarium. If you look right here after it says for a healthier aquarium in quotation marks for no reason. It says this product has a shelf life of 12 months. 90-day warranty on the packaging. Is treated with ozone or UV? That's weird. Why not both? So, rather than using this down here on Patsy's tank for a major water change, what I'm first going to do is I'm going to try a partial water change. And the kitten is going to come with me. I wonder why I'm ignoring her. There you go, kitten. You want to be on TV? There you go, right there. Where are you going, kitten? Oh, she's bailing.
No, she's just sitting in the dark.
Can't see.
Oh no, I can't tell. I'm blind.
Anyways. Now, here's the thing. Howdy, howdy. This stuff here, it says it has a 1-year shelf life. Now, these particular things came from my friend's storage unit. She is a owner of a pet store in another town, and they came out here to visit for a day. Brought me those pumps, and they brought me another thing I'll talk about just in just a second, which is going to give me use for this. But first I want to make a point. These, having been in storage for some time, are the cleanest examples of these products I've ever seen. Every time I've ever been to Petco or Petsmart or anywhere that I've seen these bottles of salt water, I'm tempted to, and I have before, ask the attendant, does anybody buy this stuff? Because every example that you see sitting on the store shelf has what I can only describe as patina. Yeah, patina. A nice little kitten covering them. I guess the kitten is back over here now.
I tried.
Old prima donna. Are you an animaniac or something?
She's tiny, she's tuning.
She's just more than a little loony. Dust, man. There is just like enough dust on these boxes in the store to create a second atom. Okay, like if you breathe on the box too hard, a little person will pop out. That's how much dust is covering these boxes. That's a Genesis joke. Yeah, only on the Easy Reefers channel. Which relates to the topics of historiological discussion on the other channel, Lost Forgotten. But anyways, so here's the deal. The reason why I've never bought this was because of how old it looked on the store shelf. And this was probably ordered by my friend directly from the supplier and was new when she got it. However, the whole reason why I sneered at it, excuse me, I had to bend over and fart right at the camera. The reason why I sneered at the idea of it, basically, is because when saltwater, especially live saltwater, sits in even minimal lighting, there is a small bacteria and algae bloom that occurs once the state of oxygen deprivation is reached, and that can significantly lower the pH and increase the nitrate of the water and deplete all the oxygen of the water. You don't want to use water like that in large quantities. And even, like if you have an overflow box and your power goes out for a couple days and you're on backup pumps or something like that, and you don't have your return pump running, which I don't recommend. Return pump is like the one thing I keep on backup. But, it's for the reason that you don't want the stagnant water in your overflow box just going back into the system. It's just shit water. And if you have a small sump and a large overflow box, you can have that blow back into your corals, into your display tank, and then you might see the corals right by your return kind of get stressed out, shrivel up. That's because they just got blasted with ammonia. So, as soon as I open up this water and oxygenate it, the pH is going to remain constant, but the ammonia is going to spike. And then the nitrites are going to spike in the fish tank that you added. Just temporarily. It's going to stress everything out, though. So if you do a water change with this, after it's been on the shelf for a while, the only reason would be to replace trace minerals in a stable system that is mostly fouler, like just not any kind of sensitive corals. And even then you would want to use it in limited quantities. But the benefit of the trace minerals should be there because of the bacterias and algae that can form in anaerobic conditions aren't really significant as far as trace mineral usage. And then those are just going to basically cycle back into the tank because they can't survive in your oxygen-rich system. So, I have a little bit of use for that in Totski's tank. I'm going to see. I have 2 biofilters and a protein skimmer and a 1.5 inch thick live sand bed on there. Macroalgae. There's a fluval CP1 in there. Maybe a CP, I don't even know. CP something. One of the smaller fluval wave makers providing current on the other side. It's a stable little 10 gallon. It's been running for years. In many different configurations. But Totski, the female Picasso onyx that's in there, she's going to come out. She's going to go into quarantine. And I'm going to attempt to treat her with cupramine. Because I've tried pretty much everything else on her. But I skipped the copper, not realizing that it happened to be the one thing that allegedly works for the urinoma, I believe it is, that she has. She seems to have a combination of urinomas and cauliflower disease. And it's just been a very slow progression. The Paragard and formalin, which malachite green, and formalin mixed with malachite green treatments I was doing on her didn't seem to have a great effect, but they had a little bit of an effect. She did improve, but she didn't get better. But hyposalinity or reducing salinity seems to make it worse for her. So that's one of the reasons why I want to try out the trace mineral level of this seawater on an onyx Picasso percula, true percula, and just see if that helped her revive as far as vitamins goes. But I won't be adding any of this water into the quarantine until after I have established a biological filter with what's left in my bottle of Seachem pristine supplemental bacteria. So I'm going to be using the water that's in the 10 gallon to transfer her into a 5 gallon, basically. And then I'm going to use a little bit of my reef tank water and some of this new water to fill back up the 10 gallon. And I'm just going to observe Tatsuki's mate, possibly soon to be former mate, because of how long I'm having to keep them separated. I'm just going to see if he gets any signs of stress. He is probably the healthiest designer-looking clownfish I've ever seen. Just a feisty little guy, no gill or mouth deformities whatsoever, perfect fins, perfect, bright, like almost like a high IQ look to their eyes. If you want to make sure you're getting a good percula, look for gill and mouth deformities, but also look for that focused eye. A true percula is going to have just a different look in their eyes from something that's been crossbred with a celarus or been inbred too much, which, everybody got their different opinions about that. So, there's another little problem that I've often encountered. And, it's not a huge deal, but it's something that kind of nags at the back of my mind. You see, my main water polisher and stability provider for this tank, that tub, and that tank is oregonite. I have down there behind the black bucket my return pump in another 20 gallon, identical to that, well, same size, I think it was actually a different brand, but I'm not sure. Did we buy those both from the same place at the same time? The 20 gallons. Yeah, it was the 10 gallons that were different. Yeah, the 20 gallons are identical. Sorry. Well, I have a clownfish breeding divider in there that has slots along the bottom. And then on the other side of it, I have just a mountain of fairly coarse aragonite. Sand, not crushed coral, sand. So it's like a sand polishing filter. It's a great bacteria bed. And what aragonite does is provides calcium and magnesium and alkalinity in a natural way. At any time the pH drops below 7.8, basically, it'll just automatically start releasing more and more as it gets towards 7.6, in which case it'll just turn to mush if, left for a long time. But the idea is, as the aragonite provides water polishing and bacteriological filtration, it gives you a nice low point buffer for stability. It's not something that should be done in place of two-part solution or Calquaser or, like a marine buffer, reef builder, plus, whatever calcium, natural calcium you want to. There's a lot of different ways to augment your calcium and alkalinity to get your corals to grow stably without becoming brittle and not, die. that helpful thing. But you see, in especially glass bottom or shallow sand bed systems, if they don't run a calcium reactor, or if the calcium reactor malfunctions, you can have a rapid decrease in calcium, magnesium, and alkalinity that can unbalance things. Now, the beauty of aragonite is when you're low on calcium and the pH drops, you're releasing calcium. When you're low on magnesium and the pH drops, you're releasing magnesium. It kind of naturally balances itself out as if it were the design of nature, because that's what it is. And in nature, the reason why bedrock, which is basically, nature's calcium reactor, provides calcium and alkalinity to the ocean through the ocean's top-off water, is because it comes through rivers and streams, above and underground. Now, to simulate this scenario, in my bottom tank down there, my auto top-off, or actually my just slow drip top-off, I don't have any kind of fancy auto top-off, I have top-off bear. He's a bear, he sits there, he wears a pirate hat, and his brain slowly leaks into the aquarium or something, I don't know. His new lid looks like a little pirate hat on him. Anyway, that's top-off bear. And his little hose make all the bills. Wait, no. His little hose goes down there right to where it'll create a bit of a pH drop in my refugium before it gets into the aragonite. So that allows the aragonite to constantly buffer and allow me to use less of my two-part solution and not have to worry so much about adding marine buffer to every single batch of top-off water, which is for newbies and experienced people alike who are just looking to have a more stable system with less problems overall, at maybe the price of a little bit of algae growth if you overdo it, but just so worth it still for the stability it provides. Marine buffer. It's a borate-based buffer that increases stability the more you add it, kind of. You know, to the point where it starts growing algae. That's what I put in my top-off water. I don't use Calquaser or anything else like that. I use a limited amount of 2-part solution. I use oregonite downstream of my top-off. And, you know, I get a pretty significant drip on all these different systems. It's about 120 or 140 gallons total. But it goes in a lot of different places. There's 3 different overflows going down to that bottom tank. But I can basically run out of 2-part solution and not have any for weeks. And the LPS will suffer if I don't increase feeding. But other than that, you don't have a risk of RTN. You know, you're not going to see a situation where there's a wild swing and the flesh just comes off of a coral. It doesn't happen when you have, well, I can't say either or. I would want to say just this oregonite setup, but I've been using it consistently for a very, very, very long time, over a decade, with the marine buffer in very small amounts in my top-off water. And to stimulate coral growth, usually I'll just do a 5% water change once a week with reef crystals. But in between water changes, to keep everything stable, I use Fusion 1 and 2, which I'm not married to, but that's just the first one I tried. I just decided to buy some giant bottles of it so I wouldn't run out. And I still had them for probably over a year now. But yeah, if I do a water change, I skip back on the alkalinity solution for about 3 or 4 days, and then go back to adding. I just do 7 mils of each every other day. And that's below the instruction rate, but I have that oregonite kind of, you know, I'm not in coral growing mode. Okay, if I wanted to be in coral growing mode, I would just add the 2-part every day. But because of that oregonite, I can just really just slack and let my corals stagnate as far as growth goes without worrying about their tissue becoming weak or their skeletons becoming weak underneath from any kind of pH drops or alkalinity drops or magnesium drops. Oh God, a magnesium drop can just rip the flesh right off of your corals. So in this tank, that's just, you know, softies and sponges and stuff with the plants. But in this little 20-gallon over here, we have let's see, 2 different types of Monipora, Paucillipora, Acropora, frog skin Acropora. I need to go on Tidal Gardens. What was it, Tidal Gardens that had that same acro that we won from that contest?
Yeah, I believe so.
I got a Duncan coral. I have 2 rose bubble anemones. Hollywood stunner chalice, turbinaria, glove polyps, kenya tree, tonga tree, mushrooms. Actually, the mushrooms are the least. They're doing the worst of everything because I keep my salinity higher than I should.
That and the chloroform keeps.
Yeah, and
attacking
Callirpa
it.
just wants to grow right over all my mushrooms because I had this just infestatious. I don't know how infestatious. That sounds like a good word.
Infectious.
Infestatious.
Infestation.
Yeah. Strain of Callirpa. This one little tiny bit of it came on this one little rock that I had a bunch of mushrooms on, and it just took the frack over. But as long as I keep it trimmed back and I get my corals poking out from behind the coral, from the Callirpa,
I try my best.
it has a nice look to it, I think, anyway. But anyways, so, back to the seawater stuff. What this stuff makes me think of is, I've been wanting some more aragonite down there for a while. And Chrissy, my friend down there in New Orleans, she just happened to bring me some aragonite too. Big old bag of it. And that thing that nags at me is when I'm rinsing aragonite, when I'm rinsing my sand, coarse aragonite sand, I always rinse it. I don't want that dust just going everywhere. I'll use tap water to get the dirty dirt out of it, and then I'll sit there with RODI water and just pour and rinse, and pour and rinse, and pour and rinse, until it just looks crystal clear, even after I shake it a little. But there's always that little bit of milk that just seems to keep coming, and there's that, it's just, no matter how long you rinse it, man. No matter how little of a quantity you're rinsing at a time, no matter how long you rinse it, there's always a little bit of milk. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, calcium carbonate, magnesium, fresh water. It's melting right in front of me. So while you're rinsing out your aragonite, I don't know what percentage of it, maybe only 0.7%, maybe up to 3%. I suppose depending on how OCD you get about rinsing it. But certainly around 1 to 3%, it's just going right down the drain while you're rinsing it. So what's the solution for this? First, you could just sit there and play Final Fantasy X. That's always fun.
That's what you do after you bombarded with terrorizing parents with school supplies and Walmart. Twitch.
Or, okay, you could solve a little problem. Now, the reason why Petco and Petsmart and these big brand box stores, oh jeez, the stream has gone red again for no reason. Son of a whore. Excuse me, YouTube. Mind if I freaking stream a video here? Maybe, perhaps. Okay, so just waiting on the stream to come back. Isn't this lovely? Oh, look, it's green again. How about that? So, the reason why Petco and Petsmart 360 and yeah, all these silly little big box brand stores have this stuff, and you really don't so much see it in mom and pop pet stores or anybody who does aquarium service bothering with it. It's because of the corporate nature of that store. You see, if you go and find a book that says how to keep a saltwater aquarium, you know, one of these books that the first edition dates back to the 80s or 90s, and even some of the modern ones that had basically just, you know, phoned it home. Not phoned it home. Phoned it in, excuse me. E.T. phone home. No, phoned it in. They've read in these little books, the corporate boards at Petsmart and Petco, how it says you can either mix up your salt water or you can use the natural thing water. And while this is technically true, it really only refers to, in a practical sense, to public aquariums and research facilities that are located near pristine water sources, and just does not apply rationally for a lot of reasons, and I'm going to go into them, to the retail marine fucking hobbyist. First of all, the box says either ozone or UV sterilization. Natural seawater can contain parasites. Some of these parasites can exist in very resilient states for long periods of time. They can remain quite dormant. And just a single one of these things can cause a plague in a marine system. And either ozone or UV won't do shit to a lot of them. And both ozone and UV isn't guaranteed to kill all of them. So here you have the catch-22 that presents kind of an opportunity. To become safe from parasites, these jugs actually need to go bad. Isn't that hilarious? To get to a point where any of those resilient termite, cystic, parasitic eggs are no longer a threat, you want one of them jugs to sit for about a year. And that's at room temperature. If they keep a cold temperature on it, 18 months minimum. And that bacteria and the initial ammonia spike and the eventual just acidity and nitrate will help break down that cyst, and over time it'll just become part of the shit that's in there. Naturally forming detritus will form on a very minuscule level from any live, quote-unquote, seawater that's left to sit. All that it takes is a minimal amount of lighting, and there'll be just this slow cycle that winds up in stagnation. Series of cycles. But you go in there to Petco. Ask to speak to the store manager. First, ask to speak to the marine department manager. Try to gauge their level of experience.
And confidence.
See whether or not they at least have the ability to take your advice, or to at least realize that they need your advice. And explain to them with your finger. Like so. This is not how your finger will look when you do this to the product they have on their store shelf.
Shouldn't be.
It will be covered in dust. Then you'll point out where it says shelf life 1 year. And you will say, I believe this is expired.
I believe.
Would you like me to take it off your hands for you? And you need to tell them, look, store manager person, this is just some friendly advice from someone who has experience versus knowledge just blindly absorbed from a book. The corporate board has read in these aquarium guides that natural seawater is a viable option that you should be offering to your customers. But it actually might be a source of extreme loss and unhappiness for your customers, even if people were to actually buy it, which they don't. So please, just, I'm going to take what's left, and you, please, stop selling this. Just stop. Just stop. Just let it go. Don't even have to sing the song. Just let it go. Let it. Okay, I won't.
But the song is so much fun to sing.
My wife's over here, just like I can feel it. She's like, she took a breath. She was just so ready. Go ahead.
Let it go. Let it go.
Let it fart right out my ass. But that's not what that song's about, is it? So anyways, now, I would say if you can get some rinse water at under $1 per gallon, you're saving your salt mix, you're saving your RODI. You could be adding some of the natural beneficial bacteria from the ocean, which is presumably good. And the calcium carbonate, which has been bleached by the sun, will absorb some of the trace minerals instead of dissolving its trace minerals as you rinse it. So yeah, what I'm saying is, this stuff, once it's set on the shelf for a year, is sanitary. It's not ideal. It's going to have probably a pH of 7.6, 7.5, but it's not going to be 7.0. And it's going to have trace minerals in it. It could still have, the pH could still be as high as 7.8, which is fine. It's a whole lot better than rinsing your oregonite with fresh water. Now, granted, you're not going to save your whole freaking money's worth unless you're rinsing over, $50 worth of oregonite? But if you keep a fish room like I do, there's a lot of different things that you want to rinse with clean salt water, but you don't want to waste your nice, pristine, high alkalinity reef water. You don't want to have to mix up new salt water to add. Well, maybe if you got one of these jugs, one or two of these jugs, good deal on them. $3 each, $2 each for 4.5 gallons. Good little deal. Fancy trick. Just got my sanitary seawater jug up here on a shelf. Let me turn on the spigot. And then, really, even if you get it for $5, it's still worth it. Because in these, right here, I don't know about this one that the box is all bulging like it needs a girdle, but it looks as though these Nutri-SeaWater ones actually have a little plastic jug in them. So, heavier than I thought it would be. First things first. Let's see how much oregano you got here. Ooh. This is not coarse oregonite, this is agriolage. Okay. Now, even more interesting. The question you always wind up getting, let's see that. This stuff here you don't want to rinse it with fresh water, do you? So when you're setting up a new fish tank and the only store in town is Petsmart, Petco. Oh, that's unnecessary. Okay. So, you could get yourself one of these cheap expired gallons of water, and then you get your even better, even more appropriate, even more worth the expense and the precaution if you're going to use Agri-Alive. I actually have significant use for Agri-Alive at the moment, and I might even sort of strain it. I might get the oolite out of it and then take the coarse stuff and then put it in my little bottom area. So, but here's the deal. It comes with live bacteria and seawater and God knows what else. Because what they did here was they just went to the ocean and they scooped up some sand, man. And it has the same mixed grade as what you would find at the bottom of a really, really nice beach. But there can often be allegedly some silicate sands mixed in with it. And there are certainly the potential for extremely high phosphates. Now, often when you see people setting up a new marine aquarium, they'll have that inevitable algae phase. It's usually caused by this Agri-Alive, or whatever it is, the bioactive oregonite. Taken directly from the sea. Let me just read one of these out. Usually you see the Carib-Sea brand. This is Nature's Ocean, 100% natural from the ocean to you, bioactive live oregonite. For a naturally clearer, healthier aquarium from the start. 16 pounds. Original patented formula reduces harmful nitrate, maintains proper pH, provides effective buffering capacity, provides essential inorganic elements such as strontium, cobalt, zinc, and molybdenum. Essential trace elements. Blah, 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 blah. Contains live marine bacteria to quickly stabilize your tank. Immediately removes nitrogenous waste. Oh.
That fancy.
You just put it in there and you don't got to do nothing, huh? Okay. Restores natural organic balance. Contains more than 10 million heterotrophic bacteria per pound. This product is natural. Not artificial. Natural, not artificial. This product is natural, not artificial. No punctuation. This product is natural, not artificial, comma, prevents biofouling. They were just a comma away from making sense. Or actually really a semicolon, because it should have. This product is natural, comma, not artificial, semicolon, or hyphen, prevents biofouling. But stylistically you should use a semicolon because biofouling is hyphenated. Contains live marine autotrophic bacteria to provide a proper inorganic balance. Contains live... Oh, now they're just making up words. Live chemolithotropic bacteria. Okay. All bacteria are preserved in their natural life state using a patented process and a patented saltwater enrichment solution. We take a scoop of it out of the ocean, we put it in a bag, and we seal it. That's our patented process.
I didn't know you could patent that.
It's just
I used to do that when I was a
salt
kid.
water. Okay. Now here, you can see this spot. If you can. Yeah, this orange spot and this orange spot here. I've never seen that, I don't think, on a Carib Sea package. I don't know what that is. But all the more reason to rinse the crap out, isn't it? So, I'm going to do this one bag at a time. I'm going to take my wonderful, huge 2-gallon mixing bucket. And, no, wait, I'm going to get a big one. Jump in a bucket. I've already got a couple waste buckets over here. I'm going to use this 4-gallon. 4-gallon. And I guess it doesn't really matter which one we start with, so I'm going to use this one. I don't know. It's like a bag of water. That's pretty much what I thought it was. So, it's like a bag. Actually, this one was less exposed to light, so I'm going to use this for the water change. I'm going to use the other one. Move this somewhere fine. There you go, I guess. And the jug open. See, the whole top of this has just been settled with dust. So, to prevent the dust from getting everywhere, mainly in my cleaning bucket here, damp paper towel, Wipe and fold, wipe and fold. Alright. And I'll just put that over there for the next one. And now it's all shiny and pretty. So, the lid has no... lid has a paper thing that seems kind of old and corroded. That's not going to seal very well. The jug looks kind of flimsy. There is this metallic seal right here. So it is sealed. So now I'm just going to move it. Some more of this dust off of there. This is dirt from the factory, man. This is, like, the box was cleaned, the whole outside's been cleaned, so this is not a sign of a quality product, that's all I'm saying. Chlorinated tap water out of the bucket. The problem with opening one of these bags is the sand always comes and sticks to the top. Depending on how picky you want to be.
Let me show us now. A toy for you.
Stuck in the corner and don't want to come out. Oh. We just rinse that right out of there. Now we're not wasting a freaking grain. Okay. £16 is a little much to mix up at once. Usually I only not like to rinse like 5 to 8 pounds at a time. But that's why I chose to use the bigger bucket. So I get it all kind of done in one setting. Shake that around. Pour it out. Surely this would work better if I were to have that fancy hose and spigot arrangement. But it's good enough for that. I'll do one more. Not enough in there to see, just enough to feel. Yeah. Let's take care of that. Bucket, we have dirty, 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 nasty, filthy, yucky muck. Okay? You do not want to start an aquarium with this. So, now the thing comes in handy that we don't have. Poor way to make this sentence. It comes in handy now that we don't have this rigged up to a siphon hose, because what I'm about to do is going to greatly agitate the water. The kitten's going to help. Is kitten on camera?
No. Oh, yes, she is. She's dark. Yep, I see her face.
So that's something I would normally do with water from my existing reef tank. But now, I just kind of got to do it over here. And man, there is a tremendous amount of black like seagrass remains on there. Do we have a girl there? Alright. Get this bucket right quick.
Now we have both the kittens helping you.
Huh?
Both the kittens are helping you now.
Oh. So I'm going to need one more dump on this. Use all my dumping buckets. There's just this black bamboo looking stuff floating on top here. So we're going to see if we can root it out from the bottom. With these really aggressive pores. Just float up above the sand. Laney, no ma'am.
Come on.
Alright, so one jug down. The water is clearing up, but there's still this black sediment everywhere. I'm going to try to switch it around. Keep it afloat. And then dump it again. Don't transfer my light like that. Laney, no ma'am. Alright. So this blue bucket here, I generally use for siphoning and cleaning aquariums. What it allows me to do is aggressively clean sand and give it a second place to settle. Oops. I'm supposed to do that. But yeah, I will generally speaking have a bunch of sand and probably macroalgae and God knows what else just remaining somewhat alive down there. And that's just my last ditch effort to save any of the sand that I'm using. A less than ideal pour. You don't want it to glug. You want it to go right down in one spot and pierce all the way to the bottom and bubble up whatever kind of protein type matter down in there. You know what? I still wouldn't put that shit in my fish tank. It looks a lot clearer now. Just to give you an idea of how much garbage is in those live sandbags. There's the cloudy water I just poured out of there. Still very cloudy, bubbly. And then there's round, what, 4? So, I guess that's a good enough example. I don't need to bust my back moving jugs back and forth at a high rate of speed anymore. The water coming out of these jugs isn't perfectly clear. Like I said, it's going to have a little bit of a bacteria population in there. But when it comes to your options for rinsing any type of live substrate, whether it be this Ocean Direct or whatever it's called, or Carib Sea Agri-Alive, you got a choice of taking water from an existing aquarium, mixing up fresh salt water, or trying to get yourself a bargain on one of these big old jugs that are sitting on the shelf collecting dust.
Plus, the jugs are really nifty to be reusable.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the strongest jug, but it is still a jug. Perfectly viable for especially emergency water storage.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, you gotta love having another place for the cats to terrorize each other.
God. Terrorizing each other all day.
Misha, what are you doing? Can you help me empty some buckets? Is Laney inside of that one?
Yeah.
Alright, one more round.
Uno más.
There's one stir up. Little annoying particles without stirring up the rest of the thing.
very carefully.
Just use a secondary bucket and then just pour out all the shit. Alright, bucket number 2. And we're getting there.
Slow and steady wins the
And
race.
that's pretty much, if I was to use old tank water or mixing up seawater, I would go ahead and start an aquarium with that right there. But because I'm not starting a new aquarium, I'm going to put this in my existing reef tank.
Did you just spill
And
water
I can't
on
afford
that?
the slightest. What?
I saw water dripping from it.
Because I can't afford the slightest contamination. Once again, I will have to get a wet paper towel. And I'm going to try to rinse this sand just as well as I possibly can. Ooh, that's dusty. So how much water do you need to rinse out Agri-Alive? About a gallon per pound. Layla? Should we back?
I didn't tell her she would.
See how far I can get. Okay. Sand settling bucket. And oh, more of a shake than I usually do. Give it a stir and a shake. And now, just to make sure I get the rest of the bullshit that I don't want out, I'll take a little siphon guy. I'm just going to go to clean that manual right out of there. See if I can do a siphon guy. Do is stir this in a circle, try to get the debris to come to the middle, and concentrate my efforts like that.
First try. Check shot. First try.
Cool. Murphy's got the dip shot. Alright. Now that's some clean sand. No contamination. Didn't kill any of the bacteria. Increased, if anything, the trace metals. Certainly didn't deplete any trace metals. And all that nasty cloudiness will not go in the bucket tank.
Yay.
So I always leave a little bit of sand in my little recycler bucket there. Okay. I'm just gonna have for a second. Alright. Ooh. That got my back a little inflamed. I'm gonna have to take it easy. But anyways, what you don't want to do is rinse out your sand at your kitchen sink. That would be a very bad idea. This bucket to bucket transfer method, that applies for when you're siphoning sand, so you can avoid getting your tube clogged up and avoid slowing progress without having to worry about sand going to waste. You can just reclaim it later. And go from that bucket to a dump bucket, and then dump it in your toilet, man. Dump it in your toilet and flush it. You're going to keep the sand from going in your drainage system altogether. But especially in the kitchen sink, it can pile up in your little U-bend, and over not very many years of keeping a reef tank, you wind up with serious plumbing problems. Kitten just popped her head out of nowhere. Alright. So anyways, just the one viewer apparently able to see us streaming today. Interesting as always. But I think we're going to go ahead and call it a broadcast. I think that's all I have to say as far as the uses for this box saltwater goes. Very, very skittish. Unless you're planning on cycling a tank fallow for 6 months and you're just using this to start it up, that would be a good idea for the off-the-shelf, still within date water. And then, as far as rinsing it out goes, your oregonite, regular coarse oregonite, should, one jug should probably rinse out a good 15-20 pounds of it. But 16 pounds for 3 jugs, so that's less than a gallon per pound. Not too bad. A little extra expense, but less expense than would otherwise be required to, do things right. Howdy, howdy. Nothing suspicious at all there. So anyways, I hope you found this broadcast informative and educational and stimulating and fascinating and all those wonderful things. And I appreciate you watching. Please click the little thumbs up button if you don't mind. And make sure you're subscribed. Y'all take it easy, but don't take it all. Peace.